Hi, I'm Jess with Canine Perspective, and we're here with Bailey. And this is another video on pressure on, pressure off concept. I know I've already like 3 videos at this point. But we're using a different tool this time. We're using a prong collar. So in the previous videos, I was using e-collar. This one's going to be on prong, and how the concept is essentially the same. It's just the way that we're delivering the pressure is going to be different. So I've not done any training with Bailey. He is a completely blank slate. So here, the pressure being delivered by the prong is essentially the bite. Okay, so when you shorten your leash on the prong collar, and like if I were to pull up, you may be able to hear that chain moving. So as I pull up on the chain, it's tightening up the prongs around Bailey's neck, which is supposed to mimic a dog bite. Okay, so when we tighten the leash or the tension, we put tension to the prong collar, it closes those teeth, which is the pressure. Okay, so like here Bailey lays down. I don't want Bailey to lay down, so I'm going to pull up, and I'm going to continue to pull up and up and up and up and up until he sits. And the moment he sits, the pressure goes away. Okay, you can see I kind of look there like what the heck just happened, right? So that was the communication. Okay, Bailey, for example, just lay down. I don't care that he laid down, but for the sake of the exercise, even here, he gets up, I'm going to pull up, tension, no tension. Okay, I'm doing this to prove a point. So when I'm pulling up, I'm keeping that tension, and I'm gradually increasing that tension until Bailey gives me what I'm looking for, and then I release it. So then his brain goes, oh, if I keep my butt in this position, this sitting position, I don't have to worry about this pressure kicking in again. But when I try to lay down, it kicks in until I go back into this position, and if I stand up, it kicks in until I go back into this position. So that's the concept of pressure when it is regarding prong collar. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to apply it to the placemat here. So it's increasing pressure. We don't want to bob it. A lot of my clients bob the leash, which is they pull up and then they keep kind of doing this motion. And every time you release that pressure, you're resetting. Okay, you don't want to reset. When your dog does something like lay down and you want them to sit back up, you want to continue with that pressure until eventually they prop up. And the moment they give you what you're looking for the most part, it might be 80%, you might get 100% right off the bat. Here, pull up, pressure on, pressure off. I release that pressure, okay, to communicate with the dog. Otherwise, if you keep the tension tight the entire time, your dog does not know what it is doing incorrectly, okay? So here using the placemat, I'm going to put a little bit of pressure on Bailey here, pulling forward. And I'm going to guide him. And the moment he's on the placemat, I release that tension, okay? So it's just like the prong collar. The only exception being that instead of it being at the press of a button and being momentary through muscle contractions, it's through pressure on, tightening pressure on the prong collar. Break. And boy, good. Pressure, 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 pressure off, pressure on, pressure off, pressure on, pressure off. Good. So on that one, that was a good one. Because it shows how when I put pressure on him, he was kind of thinking, and he was giving opposition reflex and pulling back a little bit. He caved in, but then he overshot it and counted him with more pressure. He popped back on, but then he overshot it again and counted him with more pressure. So I was releasing the pressure momentarily when he was on the placemat, but he was overshooting or overextending, so I had to counter with a bit more pressure to kind of bounce him back and forth until eventually he's on the placemat completely. Break. And boy, nice little hop. Good. And pressure, 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 pressure. Good. So pressure off right there. As soon as you heard me say the word good, the pressure has stopped. Break. Pressure, 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 pressure off. Good. Break. Pressure, 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 pressure off. Good. Break. And okay. Oh, hot. Pressure, pressure, pressure off. Good. So you can see how quickly he's getting this constant pressure here. And even though I'm saying pressure, 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 I'm not, again, releasing it. It's constant pressure, it's constant tension as I'm saying those words. Just kind of marking for you so you can understand I'm keeping it on the entire time. And regardless if I'm working with a puppy or an adult dog like Bailey here, the learning process is very, very quick when you're using the constant pressure. You know, there's a lot of BS out there that says that, you know, aversives cause all these negative reactions and stuff like that in dogs. It's because they're doing it the wrong way, okay? You got scientists that aren't dog trainers or whatever, applying aversives the way they think that we apply them, and it's completely incorrect, and it's just wrong. I built my career using aversives. Many other trainers have built their career using aversives because it is healthy. Aversives are part of life. Aversives are what make things mean something. Break. Bailey here's getting bored, so I'm just do a couple more. Oh, wait. Pressure, 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 pressure off. Good. Break. And boy. Pressure, pressure, pressure off. Pressure, 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 pressure off. Good. So if he steps off the bed right away, I'm applying that pressure. So I'm not yanking Bailey here. I'm not using forceful yanks or anything like that. Because I'm in a teaching phase right now. I'm teaching him what to do to turn this off. It typically takes about it takes dogs about 2 weeks to associate things. So during those 2 weeks, if you're doing this conditioning, you're teaching your dog to go to the place in order to remove the pressure of the prong collar. It takes about 2 weeks for them to associate it before I start to apply aversives, like harsh corrections or corrections in general. So, with the concept of pressure, since it's gradual, it's no big deal for the most part for dogs. So when you start to fast forward or go to the stage of applying your obedience, where you don't want your dog to move for 3 hours, if that's what you're needing, that's where after a couple of weeks I start to apply firm corrections, which would look like a pop of the leash. And I'm not doing it here with Bailey because he's not doing anything incorrect, plus I'm just teaching him, so it'd be like unfair, according to human logic. But if it's always just gradual pressure, you'll find yourself always having to bring your dog back to the place using that. And it will be better than if you just use food by itself and no aversives. However, you'll still probably find it to be annoying how much you have to correct your dog. So when you do a firmer correction, that's actually what deters the behavior in the long run. So the dog thinks like, okay, like if I go there, the prong collar turns off, but if I try to break from position too soon, no big deal, it's just the pressure again, I can handle that. But when it's a firmer correction, that's what tells the dog, like, you know what, they should really think twice about jumping off of the placemat. So that would be a topic for another video, but for now, this is how we teach pressure work using a prong collar and just prong collar for your dog. Okay, I'm Jesse with Canine Perspective. Thank you for watching. Whoops. Pressure, pressure, pressure off. All right.